The man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk at a Utah university last week has appeared via video link at a formal charges hearing in the US. With more, I'm joined by our correspondent Ben Knight, who's in Washington. Ben, can you take us through these charges?
Yeah, Gemma, this was the first look that America has had at Tyler Robinson since he surrendered, since he handed himself in and obviously went into custody. Also, the first time that America's really heard his voice, and it was just once in a pretty short hearing when he was asked to state his name, and he did. And from then on, he really sat quietly, looked straight ahead and listened as the charges against him were detailed. There are 7 charges against him. The main one, obviously, is aggravated murder. Aggravated murder is a specific murder charge that's available to prosecutors there. And by aggravated murder, they're talking about murder that was committed in the presence of others, in this case, particularly children, people under the age of 14, essentially something that has the capacity to endanger others. It's a specific murder charge, and it's the one that's been chosen, as they flagged all along, because it's one that also carries the death penalty. As you can see there, other charges as well: discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering, and that relates to his attempt to get his roommate to delete a message exchange that they had, which we'll come to in a moment. But so the other thing that we saw in the court hearing today, perhaps unusually, because we know that he had 2 parents, he had a family that was still together, he lived in the same town as them, and in fact they were part of him handing himself into police. The judge described him as indigent, unable to pay his legal bills, and so therefore the court would be looking for a court-appointed lawyer to represent him in this coming trial. And that's a little bit complicated because, as the judge made clear, it would need to be a court-appointed public defender that has some experience in dealing with cases carrying the death penalty.
And Ben, let's go to what you just touched on a moment ago, but authorities revealing some harrowing details about what led to Robinson's confession.
Yeah, we heard from the lead prosecutor today, and the lead prosecutor, for a start, he gave a lot of detail on things that we'd sort of part knew before, but we know a lot more about now. Was also, I think, at pains to say that today's media conference that he gave was basically it until the trial starts. There's not going to be a lot more information coming out of the prosecutor's office between now and then, which is interesting considering just how much has been flying around that hasn't been confirmed from the state's governor, and particularly from the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, who's been transmitting bits on Twitter. But look, what we found out was a lot more about what happened, particularly on the day after the shooting, in relation to Tyler Robinson and his parents. Now, Tyler Robinson, according to prosecutors, was telling his roommate in messages directly after the shooting that he basically thought he'd kind of got away with it, that he hadn't left any traces of his alleged connection to it. And he thought that was the case, but what he wasn't aware of was that the police had released those images that we saw of the shooter, taken from the closed circuit television at the university. And what happened after that was that his mother recognised her son and contacted her son. He denied it. He said, no, I'm at home, I'm sick, I was unwell yesterday as well. She did not believe that. She showed those images to Tyler Robinson's father. He likewise thought it was his son. Not only that, but his suspicions were raised by the description of the particular rifle that was used in the shooting of Charlie Kirk, a unique type of rifle. He contacted his son by message and said, send me a photo of that rifle, essentially saying, so we know where it is. That didn't happen. Tyler Robinson did not provide that photo. They then had a phone conversation, and from then on it sort of gets into areas or territory that we sort of knew about before. His parents convinced him to come to the house. He essentially, as the prosecution says, he allegedly confessed to them in one way or another. They brought in a family friend who was a former sheriff and was convinced to surrender himself to police. So then it comes to what really was, I think, the really new material and incredibly interesting material. that Tyler Robinson had a roommate. The roommate was his romantic partner, and according to the prosecution, their allegation is that the romantic partner is a biological male who is transitioning to female. That's interesting because the prosecution also said that the family had said that over the past year they had noticed Tyler becoming more political, that he was, in their words, leaning more left, and in their words was becoming more pro-gay and more trans-oriented in his discussions. Now, the messages that Tyler Robinson allegedly sent to his roommate were released by the prosecution, and in it we hear Tyler Robinson, or we see Tyler Robinson essentially saying, "I'm still here. They're not looking for me. I don't think I've left any traces. I need to go and get the rifle, but I can't get to it at the moment. Once I pick that up, I'll come back to you." And what becomes quickly apparent is that his roommate, his romantic partner, is stunned and not a little horrified by what they are hearing from Tyler Robinson. So let's have a bit of a listen to just a bit of it. Utah County Jeff Gray spoke at the press conference and gave a bit of detail. Here's what he said.
Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe.
So that's the Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray. He's the lead prosecutor in this case, which, as we know, is a death penalty case. I'm not sure when the trial starts. We won't be hearing much more, as I said, from the prosecution until then. We probably won't see Tyler Robinson until then either. And that's where it stands at the moment.